Mainstream religion is child abuse. My name is Morgue and I suffer from RTS, which is Religious Trauma Syndrome. Religious Trauma Syndrome, or RTS, mimics the symptoms of PTSD and even CPTSD. If you are new here, we are the true revolution of consciousness, so make sure you subscribe now. And my content is controversial, so hit the bell to turn on all notifications so you'll know when something new comes out. I want to share with you something today that's very difficult to talk about. It's something that honestly I don't like thinking about. I want to though, because this is so important and it must be said because so many are suffering because of this. Dr. Marlene Winnell says that RTS, religious trauma syndrome, can be compared to a combination of PTSD and complex PTSD, CPTSD. I was homeschooled my whole life in a strict Christian household. I wasn't even taught evolution. It wasn't until I was around 12 when I really started to question things and I had to start looking for myself. I had to begin to study evolution, psychology, philosophy, critical thinking, and logic myself to be able to understand that there was a big problem with what I was being taught. I remember living in constant fear, and I mean crippling fear, of things like demonic possession, Satan, and hell. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the documentary Jesus Camp, but I went to a camp that wasn't quite as bad as that one, but extremely similar.
I'm here to be trained. I'm here for an education. I'm willing, God. I'll do what you want me to do. I'll say what you want me to say. In Jesus' name.
These Jesus camps are essentially religious brainwashing institutions. From the moment you wake up, it starts. You're told to read the Bible for 15 minutes. Then after that, you have a 30-minute Bible study with your counselor. After that happens, you go to morning church service, which is an hour long of the pastor speaking and also worship. After that is another afternoon 30-minute session with your counselor, a Bible study. Then there are afternoon activities, which always has a religious undercurrent. After that is about another hour church service where you have worship and Bible study once again, followed by another 30-minute service with your camp counselor, and then at the end of the night there's a 45-minute campfire, which is again a Bible study, or you're even told to confess your sins and throw them into the fire. You have a final Bible study with your counselor, and then it's lights out. After, of course, you read the Bible to yourself for about 15 minutes. These camps are nothing short of brainwashing. It took me years to completely rip myself away, and even so, I still had an irrational, terrible fear of hell for years and years to come. Many children are completely shielded from the external world and anything that would cause them to question their faith. I remember as a child, all movies and books had to be pre-screened, and even then, they had to be edited out and pages blocked out before I was allowed to watch or read anything at all. To understand why this is so harmful, I want you to put yourself in the mind of an innocent child who is told that they are broken, dirty, sinful, and flawed. And if they don't submit to a God in the sky, this invisible creature that is watching them 24/7, that they will burn for eternity in a lake of fire when they die. To children, this is 100% real. To me, when I was told this, it was as real as someone sitting across from me at a table. To have this fear that there is this being in the sky constantly watching you, judging your every move, every word, and every thought. Think about how crazy that is. You are terrified to even think the wrong things. Fundamentalist religion is thought control in the scariest sense. You are told that your thoughts are being monitored, so you have to be careful even of what you think, or else you will be sent to hell for eternity. And the most nefarious thing about this is that doubting your faith is a sin. So you don't even want to think about the possibility that what you believe in is wrong, because that is a sin. And since your thoughts are being monitored, if you think that, you will be tortured for eternity. So you are stuck in a mental prison with God as the mental prison guard, always watching you, and you can't even begin to escape. You can't even look at evidence that it might be wrong. You can't even start to doubt, because doubting is a sin. And if you sin, you will be tortured for eternity in a lake of fire. Why are we allowing this brainwashing and abuse of children that causes a mental disorder that has the same symptoms of PTSD? Another intensely terrifying thing that gripped me as a child was the idea of the rapture. Now, this is terrifying. You are told that at a certain time, very soon, Jesus is going to come back, and that all the true Christians are going to vanish and go to heaven with Christ, while all the non-believers and the false Christians are left on earth to suffer through what's called the Great Tribulation, as the Antichrist rises to power and begins his reign of terror and starts to persecute everyone that's left. This terrified me so much as a child. I remember that whenever my parents would leave to go to the store or something, I would rush to the living room and turn on the TV and turn on the news so that I would know if the rapture happened and I got left behind. We do not tolerate the physical abuse of children, and neither should we tolerate the mental abuse of children. It's absolutely insane. And the frightening thing is that it's becoming more and more taboo to speak out against fundamentalist religion. You're considered closed-minded for some reason. But that's because this world, the majority, doesn't understand what's happening. It doesn't understand the damage that's being done. They think that, oh, it's just a harmless story that people believe in. They don't really take it seriously, and they don't stop to think that they do. They believe it 100% with all their hearts, and they're teaching it to their children. They're teaching their children there is an invisible being in the sky monitoring their thoughts, and that you have to think and behave exactly the right way, or else you will be tortured for eternity. Put yourself in their shoes just for a minute. Being a child and told that. Imagine that. Imagine right now that you firmly believed that there was a being in the sky reading your mind, and you had to behave and act a certain way, or else you would be burned and tortured for eternity. Think about that. That's real. And if you don't think that's fucked up, there is something seriously wrong with the way you think about the world, existence, and what is right for the minds of children. Dr. Marlene Winnell says, in general, people who have not survived an authoritarian fundamentalist indoctrination do not realize what a complete mind rape it really is. This is the problem. People don't understand what fundamentalist religion is, what it believes, and what it teaches to children. People often think, oh, religious stories are just taught as metaphor. Not if you are part of fundamentalist religion. These stories are taught as 100% true. In the story of Abraham and Isaac, God commands Abraham to kill his son Isaac as a test of his faith. And this is taught in church as a great thing, the ultimate sign of loyalty to God. It's taught as an exemplary story that, oh, look at Abraham. He was willing to kill his son because God asked him to. We should all be like that. That is what is taught in church. And the scary thing is that if you ask those who are involved in a fundamentalist religion if they would kill their child if God asked them to, almost all of them would say they would. This is not a joke. This is the real deal. This is frightening. It's time that we don't tolerate this, that we've said we've had enough. This is why we want to build a new world, a rational world, a world in which children are no longer taught that they're dirty and sinful and flawed and must submit to a master in the sky or else be tortured for eternity, but instead taught that they have infinite potential and can become whatever they want, and that they're free to explore their own mind and their world. This is something that's hard to think about. It's hard to talk about. It's something that I block out. I don't like to think about it because it's traumatic. It's triggering. It brings back terrible feelings. I can't tell you how isolating and alone it is as a child to begin to question your faith, because you feel like the most rotten worthless, wretched human being alive. Because that's what you've been told that you are worthless and wretched. And when you start to question, you have these doubts about your faith and about your religion and what you were taught. But no one else around you believes that. No one else around you sees anything wrong with it. So you feel like you're the problem. Like there's something wrong with you, that you're evil, that you are wrong. And so you pray to God, you pray and you beg God every night to please, to forgive you, to help you. But of course he's not there, so he doesn't respond. And that just further reinforces that there's something wrong with you, because everyone else is talking about the love of Jesus and the Holy Spirit and how God speaks to them, and you are just sitting there alone with no one, no God to turn to, no family, no friends to turn to. And as a child, that is the worst feeling imaginable. You feel like scum, you feel like dirt, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you are terrified that there's something wrong with you, and that God doesn't love you, and that you're going to burn in hell forever. And no child should have to suffer through that. No child should have to suffer through that mental abuse. It is mentally abusive and psychologically corrosive. And we have to say enough is enough, because there are so many great movements today, like the Me Too movement. And just as much as we have to stand with women against what men do to them, and we have to stand with the LGBTQ community against what this hateful world does to them, we have to stand up for those that mainstream religion is damaging. So don't be hypocritical. We must stand up for everyone that's being abused, because everyone deserves freedom. Everyone deserves to be able to be free to explore their mind and explore their world. So stand with us as we create a new world. If you haven't seen my video on some of the terrible things that religion teaches, check out this video I did here called God is Actually the Devil. Make sure you subscribe, and I want to give a big shout out to all the supporters on Patreon. Hey, you guys are amazing. My name is Morgue, and I am Hyperion. Hail New Terra.